What is going on, ladies and gentlemen, vagabuddies? Welcome back to the channel. Today's video is a little bit different. Lately, we've been getting lots of questions from you guys and girls out there about how to travel with your significant other or tips for traveling as a couple. So I figured I would introduce you or reintroduce you to my girlfriend, Carrie Rad.
Hello, vagabuddies. I do self-care content primarily. I do travel and lifestyle content, and I talk about ways to take care of yourself.
First and foremost, if you have not subscribed to Carrie, do yourself a favor. Check her channel out, hit that subscribe button.
Traveling as a couple can be the ultimate test to a relationship.
It could probably end your relationship. A lot of really strong relationships fail when they go out and travel together because travel can be inherently stressful. Basically, today we've come together to share with you guys and girls some of the tips that we have found out, sometimes the hard way, through nearly 2 years of traveling together. So to start things off, we're just gonna list out some pros and cons of traveling as a couple.
Pro, sex is guaranteed.
Con, nightlife is probably less likely to happen as a couple just because you have less incentive to go out. Why would you go out to eat if you have a Michelin star meal at home? Unless, of course, you're actually going to a Michelin star restaurant, in which case you should totally go out to eat.
Speaking of food, pro, you can always taste more food when you're sharing.
Con, some partners eat more than other partners.
Sounds very familiar. You have double the money to spend. So when it comes to the place that you're staying, like an Airbnb, you can get a nicer space. You don't need a second bed or a second room, so you're spending less, but your money goes much further.
One of the cons is that if you're not careful and you don't communicate clearly, one person may feel like they're pulling more weight and covering the costs of the other person's all expenses paid vacation.
Pro, you have two brains to come up with more ideas, which means more fun adventures.
You ready, Carrie?
Ready. Let's go. The con to that is that usually one person tends to take the lead naturally, and that can leave the other person feeling like a little bit ignored or undervalued, and it could cause resentment later on in the trip.
A lot of the reason why couples tend to argue when they're traveling is all about communication. Sometimes couples can have wildly different ideas about what they want to do on their travels, and having expectation is a surefire way to get let down.
Here's a scenario that's all too familiar in this day and age.
Babe, give your phone with you. This is a perfect photo op for Instagram.
You know, I really want to just unplug, and I didn't bring my phone, and I don't
I thought we were going on this trip primarily for Instagram.
I didn't even bring my phone.
We should have talked about this beforehand.
So avoid the letdown by having a long, clear conversation before you go about what your expectations are for the trip, what you want to get out of it, where you want to go, and why. And then once you've done that, sit down and listen to your partner's take on their ideas for the trip. Then compare notes and compromise. One of the most important things that you can do is to talk about your budget clearly. What really works for us is just going Dutch, as they say, which literally means splitting the costs 50-50 right down the middle. But also try to keep it fair. You don't have to be counting every single penny, because if you're getting obsessive about keeping it 100% totally even, then you might cause a little bit of bad blood.
You don't want to spend your trip thinking about every single little penny. You want to enjoy the trip.
Super important tip.
Eat before you get hangry.
Yeah.
I'm the queen of hangry.
I'm the king of hangry.
So things do not go well when we are hangry.
So we've learned the hard way that we start to get kind of snappy and disrespectful when we're hungry, but it's only our stomachs talking. It's not the real you. So avoid it. Get snacks, stock up. talk over breakfast about what your lunch and dinner plans are. And if they're few and far between, if you're on a road trip where you have to cover a lot of distance, if you're traveling like via plane, just make sure that you're stocked up on snacks, that your tummies are full, and it will just make everything that much better.
And anyways, when you're traveling, food is one of the best parts of travel anyways. So if you talk about it at breakfast, then you'll make sure that you hit all of your spots that you want to go to.
What about sleeping habits, Carrie? I would say generally you are like getting ready for bed way earlier than I am.
Also waking up
and also,
way earlier than you.
Oh my God, yeah. Like Carrie is an ultimate morning person.
The reason why I like waking up really early in the morning is because I really like personal time. And in the morning when I'm having my coffee, it feels like the rest of the world is still asleep. And then there's a bonus because when he wakes up in the morning, coffee's already been made.
Goals. But that brings us to our next talking point, which is valuing personal space and personal time. Travel can foster immense personal growth, especially solo travel. But traveling as a couple, sometimes you don't have that space to kind of let your wings kind of spread a little bit and really dive into your destination and dive a little bit deeper into yourself. A lot of the questions that we got, which we will be answering in specifics over on Carrie's channel, on the video that we're doing on her channel, were about how to kind of figure out your travel itinerary when one partner wants to do one thing and the other partner wants to do something totally different. And I think that the easy solution to that is just accepting that, hey, we're two people here. We might have different desires when it comes to what we're gonna do in a destination, and giving each other the time to do that.
And use that time and space to embrace your individuality and explore an adventure and create moments with yourself. And then at the end of the day, when you guys reunite, you can talk about your travels and your experiences and all of the adventures you had during that day. And at the end of the day, that just brings you closer.
And it doesn't even need to be a full day. It could be something as small as like, cool, I'll see you in an hour or two. We can meet at this little coffee shop and we'll kind of rendezvous. Like, for example, Carrie,
might go to a market.
Yeah, and go shopping. And I would go on like a trail run or go surfing. And those two activities might seem like polar opposites, but if you give each other a little bit of room to breathe, it can all be fit in. Which brings us to our next point, compromise. Let's take a little quick second here. Okay, Google, what is the definition of compromise?
Compromise, an agreement or a settlement of a dispute that is reached by each side making concessions.
Which basically means both sides are equally unhappy with the final product.
No,
No?
That is not what compromise means.
What does it mean then?
It just means to be understanding of your partner's plan and what they want to do and to make sacrifices.
Sometimes when you're on a trip, it's impossible to do the two things that both of you want to do at the same time. When that is the case, be the bigger person and like concede a little bit and say, all right, cool, well today we'll do the thing that you want to do and hopefully tomorrow we can do the thing that I want to do.
But also I think that talking about everything that you want to do beforehand, like we mentioned before, is a really great way to avoid having to sacrifice too much and avoid having to compromise all of the time. If you have a game plan, it pretty much solves that problem.
Which brings me to our next point, which is have a plan, but don't overplan. Overplanning is a guaranteed way to totally destroy the spontaneity and the carefree aspect of travel. When you overplan something, you feel the stress. You feel like you need to be doing something or you need to be somewhere at a certain time. And that really just kind of removes you from the moment, and it's really gonna negatively affect your trip.
For us, the best part of traveling together is disconnecting and relaxing. And if you have a plan set in place and you're worrying about that all the time, you're not gonna be able to relax. The best thing about traveling together, what I love most, is having a full day with no plans, and we can either stay in bed all day if we want to, or we can go on some crazy adventures. And I think having that option when you wake up in the morning, depending on how you're feeling, is really important.
So for example, Carrie and I went to Costa Rica for 2 weeks last summer. It was an amazing trip. It was a real big unplug. Neither of us had taken like a proper vacation. I know we travel a lot, but traveling for work and traveling for pleasure sometimes are two very different things. So when we went to Costa Rica, we had a really loose plan. I knew that I wanted to spend a couple days in Playa Hermosa, and I wanted to spend a couple of days in the far south of the country at a wave called Pavones. There was a lot of distance to be covered in between those two things. And Carrie was like, well, where are we gonna stay in between? We kind of just played it by ear.
Yeah.
And that was one of the best calls.
It was really neat just going on a road trip and not having a plan, and we did cover so much distance, but we enjoyed every minute of it. And when Alex was surfing a lot, my plan, and we talked about beforehand, was to just disconnect and relax, soak up the sun, read, take naps. I just wanted to do whatever I wanted every single day. And when he was gone surfing, I had a lot of me time, and it was amazing.
On a side note, Carrie did forget to put sunscreen on the first day we were there.
I knew you were gonna say that when I
And
said soak up the sun.
you soaked up the sun, but like your buns soaked up the sun. You got a 3rd-degree booty burn, baby.
I had a booty burn.
It was
Wear
sad.
sunscreen.
Okay, we're getting towards the end of our tips for you guys and girls out there. But one of the most important ones is just to slow down, relax, take it easy.
Take in the moment of being there together as a couple, and make sure that you're aware in the moment. Keep your mindset as I'm here with my significant other, the person that I love, and I want to embrace every moment that we have together.
Also just realize that, you know, travel can be stressful if you let it be stressful. It's pretty much guaranteed that something is gonna go wrong on your trip. You might miss a flight, you know, might get a flat tire. Just look at it as part of the adventure. Realize that you're there with your best travel companion, and you know, it's all just part of the journey. So the more you can kind of remove yourself from the expectations, remove yourself from the stress and the hustle and bustle of life at home, it's just gonna really allow you to soak it up that much more. And when you look back at it, it's always those tough moments that end up being the most memorable ones from a trip.
Just being on a trip with your significant other, you grow so much as a couple. You learn so much about each other, and it just overall can be so great for your relationship.
Which is our last piece of advice, which is use your trip together as an opportunity to fall in love again, to remind yourself what you really love about your partner and why you've chosen to be with that person.
Remember that you're there with somebody that you love, so give them the time and attention that they want too, because at the end of the day, that's really what you're doing as a couple when you're on vacation together. You're reconnecting, and I think it's important to remember that.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, well, that is all. If you enjoyed this video, give it a big thumbs up, tag your significant other or the people or couples that you travel with, and yeah, let us know your comments, your tips down in the comment section. If you have not already subscribed to Carrie's channel, make sure you head over there and do that. While you're over there, check out the collab video that we shot answering your questions about how to travel better as a couple.
Yes, thank you guys for watching. Thank you for having me over on this channel, and
yeah, stay
that's
curious, keep exploring, and we will see you on the road. Peace.